Well, here's another reason to get pissed at government and what they're doing. Man, they just can't get out of their own way. It's all rules and regulations. I mean, you can't. Who knows what real the problem is or who's to blame? But boy, we're sitting on. Look at this headline here in the Washington Post. Local governments. That means your county and city and things like that are sitting on like over 60%. Actually, they feel about two-thirds of the money they have to give out under the CARES relief. And this is money for you to pay rent or help your business expenses. They're sitting on over $100 billion, like two-thirds of what they were given to panned out. So in other words, sort of like the stimulus package, only a third has been given out yet. This is why actually the Republicans, the Senate, don't want to give out more because they haven't spent the last. So I think what you have to do is beat on your local county officials. They're sitting on this for bureaucratic reasons. I mean, the federal government says you have to do it this way, and they're worried about they do it that way. And then plus they're understaffed and whatever. But if you go to Washington Post and look at this article here, because it shows you in detail how they're sitting on. And I'm doing this for you to contact your local official. And I show, excuse me. If you're watching this on YouTube, I show you underneath how to find that. So look in the description, shows you how to find all these people and these programs, the money that's available. Look at, okay, here they talk about a county in Maryland that has spent less than 10% of the $20 million they have. So this is a county in Maryland that has $20 million to give out to people who have trouble paying their rent or keeping their business alive, and they only gave out 10% of it. Man, and it's just the article, the page just goes on and on. Now I'm going to bore the hell out of you and do this. He said, okay, across the country, local governments are struggling to push the CARES Act money into the hands of the people who need it most. Officials say the funds are slow to trickle down to them, in part because of political squabbling. You know what squabbling is. Isn't that clothes that were wrapped up with baby Jesus? Swaddling clothes? No, squabbling. Oh, I see. Squabbling clothes. Stringent and evolving rules from the Treasury Department complicate the process. So everybody pushes stuff down and makes people, they're worried about money being wasted, obviously. And as a result, nobody's getting the money, right? Okay. And see, they only have till December 30th to get rid of it all. So they're sitting, they had this stuff since April, right? So 6 months now. And they only spent a third of it, and they only have like a month and a half left to get rid of it, or else it goes away. Now, that's a real pity, right? That we have people, can't pay for anything, and there's money here in the pockets of government officials, and it's local, and they can't get it out. So that's why, actually, and I don't know if this will happen, but they're trying to get a bill to extend the time to get that money out. Now, that's crazy, but what the hell? They got to figure it out some way. Okay. The failure by localities to quickly disperse the money has become a sticking point in the discussions of a second stimulus package. Republicans saying that they won't bail out what they describe as cities poorly managed by Democrats. They cited the Treasury Department report showing that state and local governments spent less than 30%. There's other people that say it wasn't that much, but even if it's half, what the hell is still a lot of money, right? Okay. In Montgomery County, actually, that's where I lived, and other jurisdictions with population larger than 500,000. So people with population, you live in a county with more than a 500,000 people, you got money directly from Washington, D.C. But people less than that, so counties less than 500,000 people, you have to wait for your state. So that's why you have to bang on your elected official in your county government and your state government about where the hell this money is, because you need it. By July, only a third of all cities and counties had received any money. By July, only a third received money. Okay. Okay, here's a city in Georgia. More than 2,000 residents of Brookhaven, Jordan, had fallen behind in their power bills by the time the city got its funding on October 1. So October 1, like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, they finally got the money. forcing the mayor. Now, this is interesting. Forcing the mayor to negotiate a deal with local utility and other so their electricity would not be turned off. He said that he and other small-time mayors could have helped more people earlier if he received the funding more quickly. See, that's another thing. Your elected official can go to the utility company and just make them not to say it's okay for you not to pay. Wow. See, that's the power your elected officials have. You got to use them. Just don't bitch and say, oh, I'm drowning. Do anything you can to shake up the system, try to get something to work. Nobody knows exactly what will work, but doing nothing won't do anything, right? So you got to do something. And it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's something. The Treasury Department has not released an updated report showing how much the CARES Act money has been spent, though state and local governments were asked to report the data by October 21st. So we were supposed to get an update if they took. Okay, here's Maryland. This is interesting. Governor Hogan of Maryland on Thursday released the state's final CARES Act funding of $70 million. Last Thursday, the state just gave out $70 million of what they have left. Last Thursday, been sitting on this for how long? Promising that the state would spend the allocation by December 30th. He called on small and mid-sized counties, which had spent just 35% of their funds by mid-October. You hear that? He only spent 30%. Hey, he had to beat on the counties to give out the money, to follow suit and immediately get that money out the door. So please help these poor bureaucrats make quota. Please. Sound like an NPR program, begging for money, right? So you got to help these poor bureaucrats make the quota. Howard County, a wealthy suburb north of D.C., had distributed less than half the money. Wow. So you have two counties right here, and I guess the smartest counties in the world, tell you the truth, in education level. A third gave out one county gave out only a third, and the other county gave out only half. See, that's why it takes you. You got to go bang on their doors. Let's see. Distribute less than half of the CARES Act money is what was set aside for business relief. An official said they are partly because of timing. Howard only received its funding in June, and partly because the county wants to ration the money, given the uncertainty over another stimulus package. See, that's another thing where you have to keep asking for their money. They're rationing it out, like a little bit now, a little bit later, whatever. So that's why you say, oh, they don't have any. Well, in another month they will. Whatever. So you got to keep on this stuff. Here's a guy who got some. Jason Edwin of Social House, I guess that's in Ellicott City. I think that's a bar. Received $2,500 from the county in July, but it was too little, too late, and the restaurant had to close. Wow. See, stuff like that. Local officials say they face a catch-22. They want to help residents quickly, but are wary of running afoul of federal rules. See, it's a trickle-down theory. Given limited resources, they want to target the community's most needy, but are frustrated by the long-standing logistics challenges, including language barriers and lack of internet access among low-income residents. See, that's another thing. The only way to learn about this stuff is on the internet. And people, everyone doesn't have internet or doesn't know how to use it, and things like that. Hustle over to your library and help them get you online, do whatever, if the library's open, right? I understand. So there's all okay. Employees in this county in Texas have spent up to 16 hours a day on Zoom trying to figure out how to funnel dollars into existing programs to create new ones that fit the federal government's criteria. Wow. See? They're working 16 hours a day trying to figure out how to get the money out. That's amazing to me. Okay, we're trying to open the gates and help as many people as we can, while also maintaining our fiduciary responsibility. That is what keeps me up at night. In El Paso, listen to this, in El Paso, where coronavirus cases are soaring, officials were surprised to see only a trickle of applications for the $10 million. So here you have the biggest problem in the virus going on. Only a trickle applications. What the hell is going on? See, that's why you have to do this yourself. Don't believe that. You have to figure out, get answers for yourself. Don't believe me or anybody else. You call your local officials, call 5 of them. Go to commoncause.org and find your representative. You'll get a list of, and here, see, this is what this is saying. Call your county executives, your city executives, and your state elected officials. Those 3. Forget about Washington now. They're working trying to get a stimulus package. Doesn't matter. You got to go local. Go local, baby. Yeah, that's what you have to do. And the people who need it most aren't getting it. Wow. That's great. I mean, that's what I see in Washington all the time. That's why when I started telling people about government programs, I learned it because I was working for rich people, millionaires who was getting all this money. I said, Jesus, they don't even need it. They're getting it. They figure it out. People most at risk for eviction are least likely to have access to our website and other sources, said the director of a nonprofit who administers the grant. See, a lot of times what they do, the cities or state gives the money to a local nonprofit who in turn gives it to individuals. In Summit County, Ohio, a budget officer was so frustrated at the lack of applications. You hear that? Lack of applications. The poor bureaucrat, budget officer, frustrated over a lack of applications. And it goes, oh my God, what else we have? Oh, our target ultimately is to make sure that we spend every dollar that is given to us. If we just had more time, just give me a little more time, we get that money out. See, they have. In July, Montgomery County allowed $20 million to the CARES Act funding to rental assistance. Okay, $20 million of rental assistance. Fewer than 200 received checks. $20 million, only 200 received checks. Now, here's something interesting down here. Our staff is burnt out, said, and this is the same place, they only give out 2. They have 50 people working on the process of applications. We've been operating for a near frantic pace for almost 8 months now. It's incredibly challenging. See, they have problems. They're not doing this purposely. But you have to pressure the elected officials because they're the only ones that can make a difference. You can't beat up on the bureaucrats because they don't follow the laws. You got to get the people who make the laws because they could change that. And they're better. They're the only people who have the power to change it. So go to your state officials, go to your county officials. Okay? And if you're worried about paying rent, go to justshelter.com. Just J-U-S-T shelter.org, Just Shelter. And you go, they have a report there of local help for renters and or even your mortgage payments, so you don't lose your house. So that's a good place to start to getting legal advice on how, because people who you owe money to, they're just going to beat on you whatever the hell law says, and they're wrong. They can't do that. They can't get rid of you because there's laws protecting that. But you have to know what that is, and that's how to find out. Just JUSTSHELTER.org. And go to commoncause.org and find all your elected officials. Start beating on them, man, because they don't know. And if you don't know how to do that, go into the on the bottom of YouTube. And if you remember Let's Go Help, just ask me for the report, and you'll get all this information for your state. So I got it down for members. We have it state by state and give it, here is too much stuff to give. So I show you how to do it yourself and give you the power to find these people that could help you. Now, it's going to take work. You're not going to make one phone call and do it. And truthfully, it may never happen. It may not get help. But it's a possibility, and a greater possibility now, I think, than you ever thought. And that's what you have to do. You have to work on possibility. Life is a gamble. The only thing for sure is you're going to die. All of us are. So what the hell? Might as well try something.